Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you Immigration Law on Your Side.
All right, welcome to another Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. Kuya Yo, galing po ng Las Vegas, Nevada. Nako, tonight's episode, mga kababayan, could not be more timely or more important for families here in the United States and across the world who are waiting for their chance to reunite. Our title says it all, mga kababayan. Andyan sa baba ng screen nyo, napapanood nyo. Health, money, and your visa. What the new public charge rules really mean. Mga kababayan, in the past few weeks, the United States Department of State quietly issued new internal instructions. It was a cable directing consular officers around the world. Kasama na po dyan sa Pilipinas ang US Embassy dyan sa Manila to apply a much stricter version of the public charge test. Napanood nyo na ito sa Immigration Law on Your Side before. Public charge, ano nga ba ito? At the same time, here in the United States, USCIS has released a new guidance reminding officers, mga kababayan, to scrutinize the public charge factors in adjustment of status cases. Kaya syempre, kasama na naman natin ang ating resident immigration attorney, syempre, the award-winning attorney Flomy Diza. At galing po siya sa San Francisco, California, para po bigyang linaw ang public charge na ito. Attorney, magandang gabi and welcome to another Immigration Law on Your Side.
Magandang gabi, Kuya Johan, at award-winning host and producer, Mr. Johan Saison. Congratulations din. At of course, sunusundan lang natin ang mga yapak mo. So after the TOEFL, we get this very important award ng Immigration Law on Your Side sa PHLV Radio, Best Radio Show ng Commission of Filipino Overseas. It's really a great honor to be for this award, Kuya Johan, hand in hand for the last almost 7 years na yata tayo.
Yes.
We have this award and I'm truly grateful and thankful for this with you. Yeah, it's very timely ang ating pag-uusapan ngayon, mga kababayan, dahil ang ating pag-uusapan, as you mentioned, ay public charge. We have had several episodes tungkol sa public charge, discussing the affidavit of support, medical conditions, during our previous episodes, but we have a new one, fresh from the Department of State cable, at the same time from the USCIS. So tune in lang po kayo at isa-isain po natin na gamayin ang bagong cable and USCIS policy.
That's right. So, attorney, walk us back a little bit for those who missed our program before on public charge. What does this mean, itong public charge?
Yes, ang simple terms po, ang public charge, mga kababayan, ay it tests about a future financial self-sufficiency. Kapag kayo ba'y nakarating sa Amerika, would you be able to sustain yourself, right? Not primarily dependent on the government. One of the grounds of inadmissibility, ibig sabihin that the government can refuse to issue a visa if the government believes that you become a public charge in the future. That's why they require you to, the petitioner, right, or the sponsor, to provide an affidavit of support, meeting the 125% poverty guidelines. And even if that, if your petitioner is unable to meet the poverty guidelines, it's easy to secure a, what do you call this, a joint sponsor. So essentially, what the government in the past was making sure that you won't ask for public assistance from the government, kagaya ng Social Security income, right? Yung mga SSI or TANF or other similar benefits. At pangalawa, yung long-term institutionalization of government expenses. Halimbawa, ilagay po kayo sa long-term care facility by the government. So yun ang iniiwasan nila, right? But now, in other words, it's a totality of circumstances nito. Ang kino-consider siyempre kung ilang taon na kayo, how's your medical condition, yung family status ba ninyo are willing to support, assets, resources, and of course yung education ninyo. In other words, would you be able to find a job based on your education and your experience once you enter the United States.
Attorney, napapanood natin sa mga social media posts and it's going around. In fact, a lot of our kababayans are sharing this post regarding yung health condition mo. Meron pa diyang pinag-uusapan na if you are overweight, yung mga ganon. Ito po ay talagang mainit na discussion. That's why we're putting it here, right here at the Immigration Law on Your Side right now. Pero hindi naman ito bago ang public charge. As we said, we've already discussed this before. So ano, attorney, ang nagbago ngayon dito sa implementation na ito?
Yes, itong bagong cable ng Department of State, Kuya Johan, is a requirement that people applying for immigrant visa at the consulate to undergo a medical examination, di ba, sa St. Luke's. Essentially, when people ask me, attorney, may cancer po yung aking or nagkaroon ng cancer pero kailangan pa rin niya ng continuous medical condition, di ba? Meron siyang arthritis, meron siyang long-term medical condition, would that be a reason for St. Luke's or even the embassy to deny them a visa? And I always tell my clients in the past, no, because what they're looking and the reason why they're doing the medical requirement is to make sure na wala po kayong contagious disease. Essentially, yun ang problema doon, di ba? Contagious, meron ka bang TB, tuberculosis, or have you had your vaccinations already done? So yung mga requirements ng vaccination para, you will be able to comply with the medical condition. Pero ngayon lang, Kuya Johan, November 6, 19, like 2 weeks ago pa lang, right, the Department of State issued an internal cable, to consular posts worldwide, na hindi lang sa Manila, pero siyempre kasama po dyan. They were instructed by the Department of State, yung mga officers, to be more aggressive in terms of public charge analysis, especially focusing on the health conditions ng mga aplikante, right? Ano yung mga condition na yan? Long group of conditions that include siyempre yung cardiovascular and respiratory diseases, cancers, kasama na yan. Kasi as I mentioned, the past hindi usually issue to. Diabetes, ganun din. Right? Metabolic disease, kung ano pa ibig sabihin yan. Neurological diseases or disorder, yung mental health conditions and obesity. Yung obesity, syempre bago din yan. Kasi nga, they were saying, ano ba itong obesity? Kasi marami daw leading to diseases if you are obese. I mean, that's one of the reasons why they included this. So, ang usually tinatanong mga officers is, can this applicant over the lifetime cost treatment without needing public assistance? So that's why you have to watch out for your interview or when you undergo medical examination at St. Luke's if you have this medical condition.
So, attorney, especially those people or ating mga kababayan who are doing consular processing right there in Manila, alam mo, tulad na nabanggit nyo, dati nang pumunta sa St. Luke's, nagpapa-exam and all that, no? With this new guideline, attorney, before they even start any of these processes, ano yung dapat nilang should we say, if they want to be proactive, no? For example, you mentioned yung cardiometabolic diseases, no? Tayo mga Pilipino, we're very prone to that. Mahilig tayo sa mga lechon, mahilig tayo sa mga fatty and salty foods. So we are really prone to those cardiometabolic diseases and nagiging comorbidity itong mga conditions na ito for more medical conditions. Ano yung pwedeng gawin natin ng mga kababayan natin kung alam nila na sila ay magpapa-exam? Kailangan ba nila na they should start to live a healthier lifestyle siguro at hindi muna kumain ng mga lechon?
Well, sometimes it's just hard, especially if you guys are now waiting for your interview and for your medical examination and interview. But for people who are waiting for their priority to become available, right, and waiting for the visa, medyo matagal pa yan or months ahead pa. Well, that's number one. It's not only good for yourself, kung we start, as you mentioned, Kuya Johan, start, your healthier lifestyle na. That's really recommended. Pero syempre, yung mga iba naman na hindi pa o malapit ng interview nyo, I think what's important is for you to convince the consular officer or the St. Luke's that you are actively proactively maintaining your health, right? What actions you are taking now, right? You can show that if you're obese, either you have you're taking some type of medication or exercise. You can show and convince the officer that there has been in the past treatment, right? Continuous treatment, and also continuously monitoring your health. You have to document that and probably show it to the consular officer if you are asked.
Mhm. Attorney, isa sa mga magic shield na ginagamit or nagiging paraan para sa ating mga kababayan is the affidavit of support, no? Galing sa kanilang mga kamag-anak na nandito sa Amerika, petitioning for them or probably just using the affidavit of support to show na hindi sila magiging pabigat dito sa Amerika. With this new guideline, attorney, itong affidavit of support na ito, does this continue to become the magic shield para sa ating mga kababayan who want to come over here?
Yes, in the past, Kuya Johan, the straight answer to that question is no. It's no longer considered as a magic shield. For family-based cases, especially, like spouse, fiance, employment, some type of employment-based cases, affidavit support is a requirement. If your petitioner is unable to show income, right, or meeting the 125% poverty guidelines, you can have someone else, anyone who is a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident over 18, willing to provide the financial documents like taxes and W-2s and employment letters, paycheck, etc. I mean, you could only be shielded from a type of inadmissibility based on public charge. Now that's no longer the case. I mean, they have to look into your medical condition, as we mentioned kanina, in terms of those conditions that we discussed: obesity, diabetes, cancers, etc. So, as we mentioned noon, na kapag ang health mo ay meron kang TB or any contagious disease for that matter, what the St. Luke's recommend is for the applicant to undergo a medical treatment, di ba? Usually, nagkakaroon ng chest x-ray or sputum test, tinitreatment muna, abot ng 3 weeks yan, 3 months, 6 months. So may mga client na umaabot din ng several months before their lung is considered cleared, and therefore issue na sila ng medical records that they have complied with the St. Luke's medical examination. Now, ngayon, Kuya Johan, and also like there's some sort of remedy, di ba? Iti-treatment ka. Now, yung other aspect ng health, like mental health, that's why they ask you if you were a drug user, drug abuser, or there was a time in your life where you tried to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else, and that would be your danger to yourself or someone else. At that point, if the St. Luke's determines that you were, then they require you to file a waiver, right, for medical condition waiver. Ngayon, Kuya Johan, hindi if they think on the totality of circumstances that you become likely a public charge based on your medical condition, they can deny you. So to answer your question, affidavit of support is no longer that permanent shield form in admissibility. So you have to take care of yourself, take care of your health, to be able to pass the or issued an immigrant visa.
Attorney, going to another factor naman, hindi lang sa itong finances, how about itong area of education, your ability to speak English? Nagiging hadlang po ba ito, attorney, and might be taken as a measurement that you might become a public charge in the United States?
It's not the only factor to consider, but it is being considered. Unfortunately, Kuya Johan, if you look at the immigration history for Filipinos coming to the U.S., considering that the preference categories for the beneficiary when their petition were their parents, it's taking like 10 to 20 plus years, and at that point marami lalo na sibling petition or petitioning married children. At that point the beneficiaries were already on their retirement age, right? 50s, 60s, 70s when they are able to come here. Hindi na nakapagtrabaho yung iba sa kanila, right? But also they're on the retirement stage where of course the older they are, the more medical conditions they have. But yes, that's also being considered. One of the factors now is of course your education po ninyo. Will you be able to find a job when you go to the US and sustain yourself despite being obese or despite having this medical condition? Like for example, registered nurse po kayo and you were able to pass the licensing examination in the Philippines and you're planning to take the nursing board here, right? Or you're planning to work at the healthcare industry where they pay more than regular employees, right? So yun lahat ng factors, Kuya Johan. So education is really an important one. Second is age, as we mentioned kanina. Bata ka pa, so you have a lot of potentials, and considering your education and your work experience, despite having this medical condition, then based on your age and your work experience and education, the consular officer may still be able to issue you a visa.
That's right, that's right. Anyway, for those who've just joined us today, mga kababayan, pinag-uusapan po natin itong bagong direction regarding public charge, and I'm sure this is not a surprise to you, mga kababayan, because you've seen this in social media lately. Kaya kami ni Attorney Diza ay nagbibigay po ng information regarding this. Mangyari lamang po na balikan po ang umpisa ng ating palatuntunan if you're joining us late today on our podcast editions. Attorney, as with anything we've discussed before, is there or meron po bang pwedeng may apply na waiver dito sa public charge rule na ito?
Yeah, unfortunately for the public charge, as we mentioned earlier, ang kailangan lang natin dyan is of course the petitioner to be able to show the 125% poverty guidelines or having a joint sponsor. But in terms of the health, Kuya Johan, there's no waiver for that. There can be a refusal from the embassy for your visa. So they might issue that notice saying that we cannot issue a visa because of your medical condition, and at that point either consult with an immigration attorney how to overcome that findings. So either you probably failed to show other factors as we mentioned kanina, right? Considering your experience, work experience, education, etc. Nakita nila na mayroon kang medical condition, sasabihin nila na you need a long-term medical treatment in the future, so we are not able to issue you a visa, and that might be the reason for the refusal, and unfortunately there's no waiver. Unlike for a mental health conditions, right, that you are a danger to yourself or to yourself, they may actually issue a waiver. There's a 601 for a medical waiver, but for in terms of the mental condition, but in terms of the new diseases that the consular post has issued, there's no waiver for those.
All right. Attorney, ito namang pinag-uusapan po natin dito sa ating topic ngayon. I think we lost the attorney right there. We're going to wait for him to come back. Mga kababayan, we are talking about public charge, the new public charge rule. And kung ano ang epekto nito sa ating mga kababayan who are adjusting status here in the United States and those who are doing consular processing outside of the United States. So I think we lost Attorney Diza over Zoom because we are speaking to him live via Zoom. Nasa San Francisco po si Attorney Diza. Magbabalik po ang ating immigration law on your side dito sa PHLV Radio. And pag-usapan po naman natin kung ano ang epekto nito para sa ating mga kababayan or for those seeking adjustment of status right here inside the United States. Pag-uusapan po natin yan. Sa pagbabalik po ng immigration law on your side, we'll have Attorney Diza again para po sa ating discussion. Para po naman sa mga nandito na sa loob loob ng Amerika. We'll be right back mga kababayan. Diyan lamang po kayo sa ating Immigration Law on Your Side. Hatid po sa atin ng Reeves Immigration Law Group.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has been representing immigrants for nearly 40 years. Reeves Immigration Law Group has been fighting for its clients through experience and expertise. With immigration lawyers you can access at reasonable fees even on Saturday. Payment plans are also available. Call us for your immigration solutions. We can do worldwide telephone and Skype consultations. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009. Reeves Immigration Law Group has offices in Los Angeles, San Francisco, China, and Philippines. See us at www.rreeves.com. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009.
Alright, nagbabalik po ang ating Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. Attorney Diza is coming back via Zoom right now from San Francisco, California. We lost him a little bit right there, but he's back right now. And pinag-uusapan po natin mga kababayan itong bagong direction regarding public charge and how this is being applied to those who are processing their visas sa Pilipinas or outside of the country. But we're gonna switch gears, attorney, as you come back now. Paano po naman, attorney, itong mga nandito na sa loob ng Amerika and they are seeking adjustment of status? They've been exposed to a lifestyle here in the United States. Maybe they are a student, nagtatrabaho sila. They might have accessed some public benefits. How does this figure itong bagong direction na ito po, attorney, sa kanila, sa mga nandito na sa loob ng US na mag-a-adjust ng kanilang status?
Yes, before I answer that, Kuya Johan, that's a really good comparison between people adjusting status yung nasa Amerika and people applying for a visa overseas, kagaya sa US Embassy in Manila. As we mentioned kanina, those medical conditions are being considered. As we mentioned din kanina, walang waiver. So far, wala pa tayo alam na waiver except for the 601 medical waiver for mental health conditions. But also, there might be a possibility nga pala if pag nirefuse po kayo ng immigrant visa based on your health, there's a possibility that you can post a ban. So for example, you have this cancer condition where they might look at how would you be able to pay the government, in your cancer treatment. So if you have money in the Philippines, investment from elsewhere, right, you can show that to them that this is where my finances coming from, and I will be able to pay for my medical treatment. Then on top of that as well, Kuya Johan, kailangan din siguro magiging proactive tayo in terms of finding how these people will be treated in the US. Aside from the money they have already, yung sa petitioner kailangan din alamin natin kung nag-secure na siya ng insurance. Kasi ang ayaw lang talaga ng tawag nito ng gobyerno is you are reliant doon sa government. The Trump administration does not want that. So for example, yung employer, yung petitioner po ninyo, maganda ang kanyang company, right? And despite you having this pre-existing medical condition, nabigyan siya ng insurance. So most likely, Kuya Yon, mas mataas ang policy niya, di ba? So let's say alam na mayroong pre-existing condition yung beneficiary, and despite that may insurance siya, pwede mo rin ipakita na I'm not going to rely from the government, ito yung aking medical insurance that covers my pre-existing medical condition. So that's really important to remember. Now, in terms of dun sa adjustment of status in the United States, as we mentioned, konti lang na bago, Kuya Johan, but habang nag-usap tayo ngayon, mayroong policy na pinalabas na naman ang government ngayon that is subject to comment from the public, where they're making stricter doon sa public charge. On the first Trump 1.0 administration, they issued this public charge where there's a lot of checklists na mga considered as public charge, diba? Ngayon kasi it's limited to social security income or yung mga long-term institutionalized government assistance ng yung medical treatment. But in the past, marami yung mga kondisyon. But now, the good news is at least they still keep that Biden public charge in admissibility grounds, where they have to consider of course, the affidavit support from your petitioner or your sponsor. But now what they're just requiring is the totality of your condition, right? So even if you're still being required to submit your medical exam as well, di ba? Kasi kaya nga when you file for your adjustment in the US, part of the packet you provide is yung field medical condition from a civil surgeon accredited by USCIS, where mag-provide kayo ng vaccination records and ensuring that you don't have a contagious disease. So in other words, Kuya Johan, titignan din nila siyempre yung household income ninyo, ilan ba kayo sa family, even if you're earning 50,000, which is way above the poverty guidelines, pero 6 naman ang anak nyo, plus yung isa pa, so hindi kasya yan, 50,000 a year is not enough. So you have to show the household income, saan manggagaling yan, right? So even if now, let's say mababa naman ang income nyo but you have an assets, diba? Or and maliit lang ang debts ninyo, and your house is now fully paid, then you can use that to show that you're able to overcome the public charge. And of course, kasama yun din kagaya ng consular processing, you have to show also the skills, the education and experience of the applicant. Especially, Kuya Johan, if they're already working and have been paying taxes because they have a social security or they have a TIN and they've been paying taxes. So for the adjustment of status, those people inside the United States, what the immigration office is looking is the totality or circumstances.
Ayun, okay. Well, mga kababayan, thank you for joining us today. Pinag-uusapan po natin ngayon ang public charge rule, bagong directive. Pero ngayon, ang pinag-uusapan natin for those already inside right here in the United States. So we're expecting, attorney, that as they process this, mas marami sigurong mga yung tinatawag na mga request for evidence, maraming mga kailangang isubmit ulit, ano? Because it's going to be stricter.
That's Kuya Johan. Unfortunately, you have to complete everything. We are lucky if you get the request for evidence instead of outright denial.
Outright denial.
So, as long as you comply with the minimum requirements ng immigration, like complying with the affidavit support and the 125% poverty guidelines, right? Hindi yung tipong wala kang income tapos wala kang pag-joint sponsor. So most likely, there's a possibility that they can outright deny your case. But if they look na medyo nasa taglit po kayo, there might be more requests for evidence that's upcoming and you have to comply right away in order for your application to be approved.
Attorney, para sa guidelines na ito, are there any group of people who are exempt from this rule?
There are. I mean, take note, mga kababayan, that this affidavit support, right, or public charge, grounds of inadmissibility, applies only for people who are applying for adjustment of status. Kuya Johan, if I may ask you, am I on the same screen?
Yeah. I can still see you.
Pag may tumatawag, parang nababalik na ang discussion na.
You're still good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. So saan tayo? So once you apply for adjustment of status, yung public charge na yan, affidavit of support na yan, is only considered when you're applying for adjustment of status or immigrant visa. Right? So hindi yan nag-apply, Kuya Johan, sa mga tourist visa, H-1B, or yung nag-apply ng citizenship. Kasi marami sa atin na nababahala din na attorney, meron akong SSI or meron akong medical, green card ako, etc., and applying for citizenship. And I told them that's not a ground of inadmissibility. It's not going to be a basis for denial for your naturalization unless, when you apply for the benefit and nagbigay ka ng false information, di ba? Pero as long as you're eligible, you are. So yun ang tandaan po natin, that this public charge are apply only for people who are adjusting status or applying for an immigrant visa. So may mga grupo din ng mga aplikante that applying for a adjustment of status or immigrant visa. Ito yung mga refugees and asylees. Unfortunately, bibihira na ngayon mga refugees and asylees natin ngayon. But once you are granted this status and you're applying for green card, kasi itong mga nabigyan ng asylum, Kuya Johan, after a year, di ba, pwede na sila mag-apply ng green card. So exempted sila sa mga affidavit support. Ito rin yung mga Violence Against Women Act na nakakuha ng na-approve yung kanilang petitions, and of course upon approval magfa-file sila ng affidavit support, they're also exempted. Yung mga victims ng crimes or trafficking, yung tinatawag na T&U visa, they are also exempted from affidavit support. And then yung special immigrant juvenile, ito yung mga bata na dinala dito, di ba, unaccompanied minor children ang tawag dyan, at wala silang mga magulang dito. And then once those special immigrant juvenile or CJs na sinasabi natin at na-approve and they are applying for a green card, exempted din sila. And very important na i-remind din natin yung mga kababayan natin na sa US na despite wala kayong work authorization at kayo nagtrabaho, nabigyan kayo ng Social Security o nakakuha kayo ng TIN, and despite without work permit, your employer, hired you and issued you a what do you call this, a W2 or ano yung isa, yung parang contractual worker where they issued you at 1099, and you're paying taxes for 10 years, Kuya Johan, pwede ka rin mag-exempt ng affidavit support. So you can show that you've been working for 10 years kasi definitely pwede ka na makukuha ng benefit mo sa gobyerno, di ba? So that's why those people who have worked in the US for over 10 years, they are also exempted from the affidavit of support.
Attorney, so working and staying here in the United States, obviously, life is lifing, umaandar ang buhay. So some of our kababayans and those who are already here, who are probably in listening to us right now, may have accessed some of some public assistance on attorney, tulad ng nabanggit nyo kanina. But I'm gonna zero in on that and focus really on that because a lot of them are afraid, no? If they've accessed some sort of medical care or mga food assistance in the government, what should they know about this, attorney?
Yes, ang seeking public, what I tell clients, especially sa mga federal funded, federally issued services, because immigration is federal. And if it's a requirement that only green card holders or US citizens are allowed to get those benefits at kayo po nag-represent, that's a big no. But for county and city benefits, if they know that you're still on a, let's say, VAWA applicant, wala pa actual green card, kasi pwede nang mag-ask ng mga benefits, Kuya Johan, yan eh. So yes, you can, right? But definitely there's also this misinformation from the from the public, especially those shared in social media, that illegals or undocumented are able to get SNAP or yung tinatawag na food stamp, di ba? So there is a screening, right, in terms of who are eligible for this type of benefits, right? So one of the requirements definitely would be a U.S. citizen for the stamp or a lawful permanent resident. So I don't know where. As an immigration lawyer, I have not seen my clients applying for a green card that were able to obtain for the stamp or any public benefits. Now, there's a difference between you as a parent. Now, let's say wala kang status, may trabaho ka pero wala ka pang green card, and your children who are born in the US, right, who are eligible for that benefit, like food stamp or yung tinatawag ng WIC, di ba, yung para sa mga milk yata ng mga bata, di ba, na libre from the government. So those are not considered as a public charge sa magulang because these are benefits that are given to the U.S. citizens, and although their parents are undocumented or other status, these children are born in the U.S. and considered a citizen, are therefore eligible to obtain those benefits. Now, yung sa public charge kasi, Kuya Johan, as you mentioned kanina, ano ba yung mga public charge na yan? Yung ngayon, before this new policy or cable is being implemented, ito yung Social Security Income, yung SSI. So may mga hindi nagtrabaho dito, di ba, o nagtrabaho man pero they are disabled or unable to work, they get some type of money from the federal and from the state government. Yung temporary assistance for needy families, yung TANF, other state local cash assistance for income maintenance, and as we mentioned kanina, yung long-term institutionalization at government expense. Now, ito yung mga considered public charge at this time until, of course, the government will extend other benefits again. So, as I mentioned kanina, I have not seen, to be honest, sa mga client ko, when I asked them, do you have this? And they said no, kasi hindi ka naman eligible. And I said, the only way can people out of status or undocumented are able to obtain these benefits are kung sinabi lang sila citizen or green card holder na hindi naman. And I think that if they were given those benefits, ang may kasalanan na dyan would be the social services that screen them for the benefits. Yung mga non-cash benefits, as we mentioned kanina, yung mga medical, Medicaid, medical, cheap school meals, yung week kanina, that are given to children, they are not considered as public benefit for the parents. So, yun ang titignan nila, Kuya Johan. But of course, as we mentioned kanina, it's a totality of circumstances. Still, you have to document everything that you have to ensure that the government will charge you not to be a public charge.
All right. Maraming salamat, Attorney, for that information. Balikan naman natin, Attorney. Pinag-uusapan po natin mga kababayan, for those who are doing the consular processing from outside of the country, sa mga embassies natin, and those who are adjusting here in the United States. So, Attorney, very quickly, give us some practical tips para sa ating mga kababayan. Let's start with those who are doing consular processing in the embassies outside of the country, kamukha ng dyan sa Pilipinas. What practical tips can we give them para po naman they don't get in trouble with this new guideline?
That's a really good question, Kuya Johan. So sa mga kababayan natin nakikinig, at I know this cable has been secretly issued sa mga government embassies worldwide, and of course bilang part of the Immigration Lawyers Association, we get this information. Sa inyo po, I would tell you, kung meron kayong medical condition or medical history, dadalhin niyo po ang inyong medical history. And be honest, right? Pag tinanong kayo kung ano yun, then tell them the truth, because those are documented. It's on your medical record. Do not hide your conditions, right? Kasi malalaman nila yan, di ba? It can create bigger problems. Of course, pwede kayo i-charge ng misrepresentation. Pangalawa, kung meron kayo mga chronic conditions na nabanggit natin kanina, kagaya ng heart conditions, mental health issues, obesity, and diabetes, nabanggit natin kanina, tignan na ninyo ang doctor, and follow the treatment. And of course, ipakita rin ninyo that your condition is stable. Right? So kahit medyo malaki po kayo, sabi niyo normal naman ang blood sugar nyo, normal naman ang BP ninyo, di ba? And of course, you have a plan for ongoing treatment. Pakita niyo ang inyong health insurance, right? That you're enrolled to a sponsor's job, as we mentioned kanina, especially kung medyo madami kayong pangangailangan sa yung medication, right? Pakita niyo that the sponsor was already able to obtain you an insurance, and pagkita rin ninyo yung savings and support from your family. So not only your mom who's here petitioning for you or your daughter, pero may mga dalawang anak pa kayo, di ba, na hindi pa citizen, green card holders sila, but they are both gainfully employed. So ipakita ninyo. And then of course, very importantly, of course, yung strengthening your affidavit support, ensure nyo na meet yung sponsor nyo ng 125% poverty guidelines. Kung wala man, meron kayong sponsor, or on top of that, pakita rin ninyo ang yung mga savings, property, and investments.
Yes. Kamukha ng, most of our kababayans, when they start their process of immigration, they start to collect and compile those information, yung mga ari-arian sa Pilipinas, and all of those things. I think it will be for the best interest of everybody to, start documenting all of those, katulad nga po ng sinabi ni Attorney regarding this. Paano naman dun, Attorney, sa mga nandito na sa US who are undergoing or will soon have an adjustment of status, what practical tips can we give them, Attorney?
Yes, find out if you're applying for adjustment of status, if you are exempt. Diba? There are only few that are exempt that we discussed a while ago. If you're not, especially in a family-based cases, adjustment of status, kunin nyo yung affidavit support from your employer. And then bilang abogado, when they ask me to represent them for the green card, Kuya Yon, I ask also the what do you call this, the taxes and the income of the petitioner for that year or the last year, etc., or are they still currently working, to ensure na pag kulang yun, Kuya Johan, is, we need to find a jury sponsor. Diba? Tignan ninyo kung nagbabayad sila ng tax, kahit malaki kinikita, kung walang evidence that they're paying taxes. Answer the I-485 questions truthfully, especially dun sa public charge issues, diba? Doon sa, meron kasing question, Kuya Yon, sa I-485, yung sa adjustment of status, where it asks, the household size of household, let's say 2, how much is your total assets, nakalagay din, lagay mo yung approximate, right? Lagay lang yung totoo, approximate lang naman, may range yan from 50,000 to 100,000, etc. And your debts, titignan din, right? And then your net assets, lahat yan titignan. And of course, they also ask you kung meron kayong, yung mga aplikante, Kuya Johan, kung ano natapos, tinatanong din yan. So answer them truthfully, especially if you already had a bachelor's degree or master's degree. It's a good idea to attach those documents. Of course, your medical examination, make sure that you also include them, right? Dahil it might cause not just a rejection but also a denial. Now, as we mentioned kanina, mas marami na ang mga request for evidence. Kahit na-kompleto ninyo yan, right? Iwasan po ninyo yung outright denial. Yung request for evidence is better than denial kasi sayang yung filing fee mo, hindi mo yun ma-refund. Yung request for evidence is once you have that, if you are not aware of the answer, if you don't know how to answer, it's really a good idea to consult a lawyer already, right? Prepare to respond to those, the income gaps, the missing taxes, incomplete answers on education and work, ensure that you respond completely on those requests for evidence.
That's right. Attorney, before we send you over to this portion of our program for listener questions, naalala ko nga pala kanina yung ating pinag-uusapan for those who are preparing for this na nandyan sa Pilipinas, the Reeves Immigration Law Group, you do have an office there sa Makati, di ba po, Attorney? Can they help our kababayans there?
Yes, we have a satellite office in Makati. We have at least 5 staff that are assisting clients. So if they have questions, it's really important that our staff assist them in terms of documenting yung pinag-usapan natin kanina, ensuring that the documents are complete. And of course, they have the same time zone, Kuya Johan. So hindi tipong, mag-respond sila the following day, etc. Yes, we have an office in Makati that are really greatly very helpful sa inyong mga cases, but in terms of legal questions, those will be directed to your assigned attorney.
That's right. That's right. All right. So, Attorney, here at our program, we do have this viewer question portion, and we do have some questions here to throw at you para mabigyan natin ng konting paliwanag ng ating mga viewers and listeners sa immigration law on your side. Attorney, etong tanong niya dito, my mom is 65 years old, living in the Philippines. I filed for I-130 and she has diabetes but is controlled on medication. Are they going to deny her? Yan ang tanong niya, Attorney.
Yes, ang diabetes is now one of the lists dun sa conditions na binabanggit natin kanina, and the consular officers must know and look at it now. No, so what you're going to do, it's not going to be an automatic denial simply because you have those listed medical conditions. Keep that in mind. Don't be disappointed. Don't be frustrated. If you don't know what to do, consult with us. But definitely it's not an outright denial. What I advise sa ating mga kabayan is, ipakita ninyo that your diabetes is well controlled, di ba? By showing that you have these medical prescriptions, right? And you have a care plan based on what the doctors prescribe to you. And of course, as we mentioned kanina, it's also important sa petitioner ninyo to show that the income is, above the poverty guidelines, and makakatulong din siguro, Kuya Johan, that the petitioner is able to obtain a medical insurance for the mom. And sa mga kababayan natin, this is just a very new policy. We have not seen any denials or refusals in terms of these medical conditions. We will keep you updated kung ano yung nangyayari. But for now, at least you are aware that this will be asked and required when you go to your interview.
All right. And moving on, attorney, there's another question here para sa'yo. Sabi niya, I'm in my 30s and considered obese. I'm healthy, no diabetes or high blood pressure, yet will they deny my immigrant visa?
No, it's also mentioned in the cable as one of those conditions. It does not automatically deny your visa, but ang tatanong ng consular officer would be, does yung obesity nyo create a realistic and high risk of expensive future medical care? Meron ba kayong plan and financial resources to manage your health? So, para lumakas yung kaso nyo at mapigyan kayo ng visa, you show that you have had these regular checkups, right? And your weight management efforts. Probably you can say that, hey, my brother enrolled me the 24 Fitness or, at the gym in Henderson, etc. So you can also show that stable employment. That's really important. Strong financial support. And also, as we mentioned kanina, maganda rin kung ipakita kung mayroon ng insurance.
Kung meron na insurance, yeah, that's right,
Yes.
that's right. Attorney, I'm going to throw one more question sa iyo, attorney, regarding dito sa ating pinag-uusapan ngayon. Sabi niya dito, my US citizen child gets Medicaid and food stamps. Mukhang napag-usapan na natin ito kanina, but bigyan na natin ng konting summary. I'm applying for a green card through adjustment. Am I now a public charge?
Yes, ang para sa anak po ninyo ay hindi para sa iyo. So definitely under current rules, benefits received by your US citizen children do not count against you for public charge. The focus is cash assistance definitely that you receive and whether you are likely to become primarily dependent on the government. So the answer there is no.
All right. Okay, so attorney, we've come to this point where ang ating mga kababayan would like to have their takeaways. Ang kanilang kung sa Pilipinas ay take out, kung dito sa Amerika ay to go. Para naman while they are in this situation, meron silang konting cheat sheet mula sa ating palatuntunan. So attorney, what are some of the practical tips that we can give our listeners right now regarding po dito sa ating pinag-uusapang bagong guideline or cable to the consular offices and even here in the United States at the USCIS regarding public charge?
Yes, mga kababayan, tandaan po natin that the public charge has been there. And then there's just additional requirements or factors to be looked upon by the consular officers and immigration officers when you're applying for adjustment of status or immigrant visa. So tandaan po natin, ang public charge is about the future, di ba? The government is asking, is this person likely to become a primarily dependent in government cash assistance or long-term institutional care? Dun sa mga nagko-consular cases dun sa abroad naman, although it's getting tougher now dun sa cable, that informs officers to heavily scrutinize yung kanilang chronic conditions. Walang waiver to, as we mentioned kanina, pag kayo na-refuse based on public charge, but you have to show finances and of course yung medical history, yung educations, etc. to document, what actions you have taken to minimize or avoid, being charged of the public charge. Doon sa mga nag-adjust ng status dito sa Amerika, we still have the same rule as I mentioned kanina. There's this new policy that just came out today as well that is subject to comment from the public that makes public charge more stringent, stricter. We have to update you on that as well, but so far the same policy now, just expect more requests for evidence. Ensure before you file your adjustment of status if you are exempted, right? Yung mga battered spouse, as we mentioned kanina, or trafficking, or yung mga you already have met 10 years working and filing your taxes, you are exempted. Mga kababayan, don't self-sabotage your health then, mas maganda siguro kung healthier tayo pumunta sa US, right? Don't stop needed medical care dahil natatakot po kayo. Instead, i-document po ninyo ang inyong treatment, yung support network ninyo, and your financial plan. Tandaan po natin, ang public charge ay hindi lang whether your employer, or rather your sponsor meets the poverty guidelines, whether you have this chronic disease, but also considering education, work experience, savings, etc. And therefore, this is not a single factor, but it's a totality of circumstances.
Maraming salamat, Attorney. Thank you so much for breaking that down so clearly para sa ating mga kababayan and for those listening and viewing us. Attorney, before I let you go, it is already the Thanksgiving season. And baka po meron kayong message sa ating mga kababayan apart from us, of course, saying mula dito sa PHLV Radio, kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa partnership with Reeves Immigration Law Group for many years already, bringing this much needed public information sa ating mga kababayan. But this time, I'll give you the floor, Attorney, to address our audience regarding especially with the Thanksgiving season just around the corner.
Maraming salamat, Kuya Johan. Yan, as you mentioned, it's already November. It's about Thanksgiving, and happy Thanksgiving sa lahat ng viewers and listeners ng PHLV Radio, mga kliyente natin, mga kaibigan, mga kababayan across the United States and around the world. As we celebrate Thanksgiving, we honor, from our family, Reeves Immigration Law Group, from PHLV Radio, yung countless blessing na natatanggap natin sa ating mga pamilya, sa ating faith and resilience in the community. Bilang immigration lawyer and host ng Immigration Law on Your Side, I am privileged to witness, yung mga stories ninyo, yung araw-araw natin mga stories sa buhay, sa ating mga families fighting to stay together, workers striving for a better opportunities, and immigrants building or rebuilding their lives with courage and hope. Medyo mahirap sa taon na to and for the next 3 years, but we are here together as a community. On this Thanksgiving, pasasalamatan ko unang-una, Kuya Johan, binibigyan ko ng opportunity, siyempre yung ating mga kliyente, sa ating mga listeners and viewers, as we mentioned, for tuning in and learning with us and believing that information is power. Sa ating mga community partners, of course, PHLV Radio, IBP California chapters, ang ating Philippine Consulate General, and the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Thank you for serving with compassion, for showing up month after month, day after day, to help those who have nowhere else to turn. Sa lahat ng immigrant families natin, maraming salamat for reminding us that America, reminding America of its own story, that this nation is built on hope, courage, and promise of new beginnings. From my family, my wife, my children, and my law firm, Reeves Immigration Law Group, sa lahat ng mga, from the partners, of course, from PHLV Radio, with Kuya Johan, and of course sa ating Integrated Bar of the Philippines California chapter, and to your family, wishing you a Thanksgiving filled with peace, love, and promise of a brighter days ahead. Maraming salamat, Kuya Johan, at mabuhay.
Mabuhay po kayo, Attorney Diza, and sa susunod pong Immigration Law on Your Side, we give you a preview a little bit about that recognition na naibigay po sa ating palatuntunan. We'll tell you more about that on the next episode, mga kababayan, and hopefully that is before that award is given. So pagpapasalamat din po kami sa inyong lahat, sa inyong pagtutok for many years. And as we celebrate this with you, ito po ay inaalay po namin sa inyong lahat na ating mga tagapakinig at mga viewers ng Immigration Law on Your Side. To our listeners, if you are or you and your family are worried about public charge, especially with medical conditions or upcoming immigrant visa interviews, don't wait until there's a denial. Sabi po ni Attorney, consult a trusted immigration professional and prepare early. Galing po dito sa Las Vegas, Nevada, ako po si Kuya Johan ng PHLV Radio Las Vegas, kasama si Attorney Diza live from San Francisco, California via Zoom. Ito po ang isa na namang Immigration Law on Your Side dito po sa PHLV Radio. We will see you again next time.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration Law on Your Side, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Pacific on PHLV Radio.